Good afternoon and welcome everyone. I'm Christy Gover, the Vice President for Student Affairs and Dean of Students. I'm happy to see that so many have joined us today. I noticed that in our list of participants, we have someone who's named themselves Anxious Student. And so I'm happy that you joined us in particular. We hope that we have answered all of your questions. We'll be able to answer all of your questions by the time we finish up here today. Just a few housekeeping notes before we get officially started with our panelists. I would like to make mention that we are recording this session today for anyone who's not able to tune in during real time, so we can play it back on several of our social media channels. So I want to make sure that everyone is aware of that. We're joined here today by Dr. Chris Sapienza, our Provost, Rob Berwick, our Registrar, Jenny Boyer, our Director of Residential Life, and Davina Hamilton, our Associate Dean of Students. And each will have an opportunity to share some information with you, updates about the respective areas. And then we also have the chat going on the side. And anyone who is interested in posting a question in the chat, that's a great way to ask a question. And either someone with a JU by their name will answer your question on the chat, or we'll be glad to answer it through the video chat as well. So thank you for joining us today, and we will go ahead and get started with Dr. Christine Sapienza, our Provost.
Thank you, Christy, and good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be able to have everybody virtually online together so we can help answer your questions and continue the dialogue. I read so many academic blogs, and I'm speaking to each and every one of you that are listening today, to our faculty, to our students, and to our staff. There's just a lot of discussion about what's going on with such an unprecedented event with COVID-19. And my job is to ensure you that our academic rigor is upheld. And I'm a realist, just like you are, students, and just like you are, faculty. We know that we cannot perform ideally in the way that we can when we have you in our classrooms. But each and every one of us that are now committed together in this situation will work together. We will collaborate together. Online learning requires just as much work as your traditional classes do, and sometimes it's even harder. You may be battling with technology. You may be in an environment that you don't find as conducive. You're back in your bedroom when you wish you were in your dorm room. We understand that. The Dean of Students understand that, and all of the staff that are working with you understands that. First and foremost, I want to thank our leadership. I want to thank our president for making the right decisions and for keeping our community safe, first and foremost. I want to thank all of the deans of our respective colleges. They have stepped up, and the feedback that I'm getting has been very positive. Again, knowing that some situations are not easy, but the majority of our students are working closely with our faculty, and the feedback that I'm receiving from students is saying, yeah, it's not perfect all the time, but my faculty are understanding and they're working with me. We must be flexible at this time. And most importantly, it's funny, I'm a speech pathologist by my primary discipline of my degree, and that's somebody who helps people with communication disorders. So I urge you during this time, communication is key. If you don't let us know what's going on, whether it's the leadership, whether it's the faculty students, or whether faculty, it's your communication with the students, we're gonna have a difficult time. So I urge you all to communicate with each other. Students, time management is something that you'll need to work on. You'll hear about terms like asynchronous and synchronous, which means sometimes you're online when it's going on at that same time, and sometimes you're online in a recorded environment. You have to manage your time. There's lots of distractions that can pull you away from your educational time frame. Try to stick to a schedule. We'll work with you on the technical skills. Tell the faculty if you're having difficulty with your connection, if you're having difficulty with your speed. We have lots of ways to send you material. Our academic advising team is fully staffed and online. Our library resources are fully online. Each and every one of us that are working at JU, normal business hours for us. We are here for you at any point in time if you need to communicate to us with a problem. You know, one of the things too is try not to have your phone as a distraction. You know, we always ask a lot of times in class to keep your phone quiet. Do the same when you're in your online environment. Try to focus during that time where you're doing your learning. And this isn't going to last forever. This is going to be a situation we're all going to get through. So the more you talk to us and communicate with us, the more we'll know how to help you. We are responsible for you. That is my job as the provost, is to work with the faculty and the deans and the leadership team to be responsible to you. We want to see you back. We will see you back. And with that, we have with us just one of my favorite people, Mr. Rob Berwick. He's our registrar. And right now, registration is going on. I'd like for him to tell you a little bit about those dates, make sure you get registered and you get advised, and also explain to you a little bit about this SU, satisfactory, unsatisfactory option that we have. So Rob, turning it over to you. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Madam Provost, and welcome everybody to our virtual session. Again, my name is Rob Berwick, and I'm the registrar here at JU. Really, I want to echo the Provost's comments about being here for you and supporting you, whether you're a student, parent, faculty member, or staff member. My staff is fully up and running and has been, and in fact, my staff is one of the few in the university that has been working remotely for quite some time on a rotational schedule, so you may have been interacting with them in a remote situation. So they are here to help and really eager to help you out with any questions that you have during this time. I'll start with registration first. Registration does start this Saturday. If you're a graduate student or an ADP student, your time is on Saturday. Then the remaining students will start on Monday. And registration is going to be fairly business as usual, as much as it can be in this environment. We have done a lot to improve that process for you, and we're very excited about the registration time. We've cleaned up some of the prerequisite errors and things like that that you have seen in the past. So we're really excited. We have some new processes. You're going to get an email later today with your exact time and some more details about registration. So look for that. That will go to your JU email address later this afternoon. But the biggest thing during the week of registration is ask if you run into any problems. We are here to help you. We will get to your question. The best way to ask your question is via email, but if you need to call, pick up the phone and call. 7090 is the extension for the registrar's office. And you know, again, we'll do our best to help you with whatever you need help with. Switching a little bit, I do want to talk about the SU option. We've had some great questions about that option, and I really want to kind of highlight the points of the SU option because I know there is some confusion. So really, from a basic standpoint, we are collecting letter grades from the faculty members, and so that means that faculty submit their grades just as they always would. Students, we will be recording that grade for you. Where the SU option comes into play is if you have elected to do that for one or more of your courses, that means that that course or courses will be taken out of your GPA calculation, regardless if you get an S or a U. So it will not count for or against you. You will still receive the credit hours, but the grade will not impact your GPA. And really what this is for a little bit of a relief. So if you're extremely anxious about a course or you're really struggling with the online format and you've exhausted all options, the SU is an option for you. The other thing that we are asking you to do is have conversations with your students if you're a faculty member, or vice versa. If you're a student contemplating using the satisfactory, unsatisfactory option, it's a great opportunity for you to have a conversation with your faculty advisor or the advising center to kind of talk about what that means, and maybe there are some strategies for you to be successful without selecting that option. So again, it really should be a question or a conversation between you and your advisor. But going back to the nuts and bolts of the SU option, if you are a graduating senior, for example, and you are planning on going to graduate school and you need an actual course grade, we are still collecting that. So you could still select the SU option, and if your graduate school requires that actual letter grade, we will send an amended transcript to that graduate school for you, and which will include the original grade. So don't worry about that if you would like to use that option. A couple of other things with it, you need a D or higher. That will get you the S grade. Anything below a D would get you the unsatisfactory grade. You know, if you select the SU option, neither one of those will calculate in your GPA, but both will be recorded on, both the S or U will be recorded on your transcript. We have received a couple of questions about, is this the same thing as pass-fail? It is not. In a pass-fail situation, the failing grade does count into your GPA. It counts the same as a traditional F would. So the U does not count against you in your GPA. On the flip side, the S does not help improve your GPA. So if you're looking for a GPA boost, do not select the SU option. Do what you can to work with your faculty members to get the best possible outcome for you. The due date on the SU election is April 17th, which is the last day of classes, and you must fill out a form. It's a form in MyJU. You go in there and fill that out, and we will record that information, and your grade will be translated to an S or U when those final grades come in. So you have till April 17th. You can, after that date, you cannot change that election. So if you change to an S or U and you get that nice shiny A, that S will be on the transcript if you elected that. We cannot reverse it afterwards. So make sure you're really making an informed decision to fill it out. But that gives you plenty of time to have those conversations, understand where you stand in your classes, and then you can go from there. For the faculty that are on the call, we're really asking that we do what we can to try to update students on their progress so they can make an informed choice to the extent possible. I know we're just wrapping up the second week of this online environment, so I'm sure once everybody gets another week or two under their belt, we'll be able to make a choice based on where they stand in courses. But that's the key, is just making sure everyone is having those conversations and communicating well, and the SU process should go fairly well. And then, like I said, if you have any questions about that, whether it impacts your eligibility to graduate or move on to the next course, we're here to help you. So reach out to the registrar's office and we'll answer your questions. So with that, I'll turn that over to Dr. Sapienza.
Thank you, Rob, and thank you, Dr. Sapienza. This is Christy again. Dr. Sapienza, would you like to offer any final comments as it relates to academics? Dr. Sapienza, we cannot hear you.
See, students, I apologize. I have to use my technology correctly. Just was saying, Dr. Gover, that as these virtual sessions go on, we'll start to dive into more detail as we get closer to things like graduation and final grading. So students, just know that we have your graduation in mind. We're working together as a team to make that a very special event for you. Although we can't be doing that in person, we do have your emotions in mind, and we want to celebrate with you to the best of our ability. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sapienza, and thank you, Rob. We appreciate you spending some time with us today and specifically going into a bit more detail as it relates to the SU option. And on behalf of the number of students that I've spoken with, thank you for making that option available to our students. I know the students that I've spoken with are really grateful, and that has alleviated some anxiety for some students who were concerned about making that transition to remote learning. So thank you. At this time, we'll transition to Jenny Boyer. Jenny is the Director of Residential Life and can share with some updates with us about the transition over to Oak Hall for the students who have chosen to stay on campus. Jenny?
Yes, hello. So we have students on campus. All of our students that have decided to stay on campus have been successfully relocated to Oak Hall in private rooms. So we don't have students living anywhere else right now. We also still have dining open on campus. So our cafeteria, Chick-fil-A, Starbucks, and Waves, which is located inside Oak Hall, are all open and available to students. The hours are posted in Oak Hall, and I also encourage students and anyone to follow JU Dining on Instagram. It's a really great way to stay up to date on what is open and where and when. We also know that even though we have relocated students to these single spaces in Oak Hall, these are students that wasn't the best place right now, but that also doesn't mean that JU is where they're going to want to stay through the end of the term, and that is completely okay. We are in such a fluid situation. The express checkout, and I'll show the little envelope again. This express checkout is still set up at Oak Hall, and it's going to stay up for the remainder of the term. So if you are a student that's on campus and has relocated, and in a week home becomes a safer place or a better place for you, you are still able to go ahead and go through that checkout process and return home if you need to.
Thank you, Jenny. And I would like to personally give a shout out to our residential life staff and our RAs. We have a number of RAs who raised their hand and said, put me in, Coach, I want to stay and I want to continue to help and serve our students. So we're really grateful for their willingness to stay and serve during this unprecedented time. We also have a number of live-in professional staff for residential life, and they are the folks who've stayed on campus through this time frame to help students get settled and really sort out what the best decision is for each individual as they're trying to decide whether or not to return home or stay on campus. And they'll continue to live on campus. Many of them have families of their own, and they're living right here on campus, and will continue to be here and available for our students. And I'm really appreciative that there are frontline folks and are working to serve our students every day, 24 hours a day. Literally, we serve on call 24 hours a day. So wanted to recognize our RAs and our professional staff in residential life. And as Jenny said, we do have a number of services that have continued to remain open for our students. That comprehensive list is located on our ju.edu/emergency/coronavirus website, and you can see which computer labs are available as well. And again, I would just encourage you to get outside and get some fresh air. We do ask that you practice social distancing, and we've tried to accomplish that by relocating our students to Oak Hall and giving each individual a private room, so that we're taking steps necessary to honor that and really work toward practicing social distancing in the residential community. So thank you, Jenny. Is there any additional information you would like to add before we move on to Davina Hamilton?
No, I don't think so. If you are a student that is here, we're going to continue communicating with you, providing resources to you. Like Christy said, we're here, we're on campus, we're here with you, and we want students to know that we don't want anyone to feel alone during this time.
Thank you, Jenny. And at this time, will introduce Davina Hamilton. Davina is our Associate Dean of Students. Davina has been serving on the committee that's been meeting daily for several weeks now to talk about planning and how we're executing our decisions throughout the coronavirus planning. And so Davina has some information to share. We've received a number of questions either through our email, our care team email, or online about what our plan is in the event, and I should say unlikely event, that we get a coronavirus case here on our campus. And I'm going to ask Davina to share a bit more information about what that looks like for us as an institution. Davina?
Thanks, Christy. So obviously, in the event that we do end up with a positive COVID-19 case here on our campus, we will first and foremost ensure the safety as best we can to our students, staff, and anyone here on campus. But we will definitely be following the lead of the Department of Health. Oftentimes in situations like this, they provide the guidance that we need to sort of dictate some of the decisions that we made and are making. And I think that we'll continue to do our best to stick to the guidelines of the Department of Health as well as the CDC. More specifically, if we are to have a positive case, just please know that part of our reason for relocating folks is that so we could have isolation space on the opposite side of campus. We have enough on-campus representatives, including our Airmark dining folks, who are willing to work with students to deliver meals 3 times a day, and just make sure that students have what they need. We do have resources here on campus, such as wipes and Lysol and things of that nature, to make sure that everyone feels comfortable about these accommodations. And the only other thing I would add is, obviously, if there was a positive case specifically in OCAL, that may require a temporary relocation of folks again, but that would be at the request of the Department of Health, and leaning on whatever guidance they can provide to us. So just know that we are following local and federal guidelines as best we can to make sure that we are looking out for the safety of our students and staff and those folks that live here during this unprecedented time. One of the other things that I wanted to make sure to touch on too is how students can get tested. So, let's say that, for instance, you do think that you may be experiencing some symptoms. Jacksonville currently has 2 options that are for folks to potentially receive testing. One of the first is a federally sponsored option that is being held in Lot J of TIAA Bank Field. There can drive up. There are a few requirements. So, for instance, a patient must have a temperature of 99.6 degrees or higher. And the patient must also have respiratory symptoms. They may also make some specific requests like bringing your own pen, having photo identification, and a few other things. A lot of this information went out in the Tuesday email to campus just about how to get tested. The second option that folks would have would be to visit the Prime Osborne Convention Center. Those individuals that choose to go there must be Duval County residents and will need to have gone through a pre-screening through Telescope Health. So please know that physicians' orders are not the same as going through Telescope Health to be tested at that specific site. And again, they'll have specific requirements as well. So just please make sure that you look those up ahead of venturing out to either testing location. But know that the health and safety of everyone here is our primary goal. And we have been planning and will continue to plan with regard to this COVID-19, and we'll continue to keep you guys advised as we make those decisions.
Thank you, Davina. And on behalf of Student Affairs, I would just like to say we are working remotely for the most part. I came in today to do the conference call or video call from the office. Many of you know that I have a 4-year-old and 2 school-age children who are doing their own online school at home right now. So this was a better space for me. But even as a university, we're trying to work remotely when we can and honor that request from our mayor and our president of the university. And really work toward making sure that we have a safe and secure environment for our students, particularly those students who are still here. I'm looking over in the chat to see if we have any questions, and if we don't, then we will wrap up. But let me take a moment just to say, to read Sue's request. Sue asked in regards to the $400 room and board credit. There's a question that says to either choose spring or fall. Should fall be the choice if you're coming back in the fall? That's certainly up to you, and that's certainly up to you. The reason we made the credit available for this term is for any students who may be experiencing hardship that was unexpected due to COVID-19, and we wanted to make that available to those students as early as possible. So if you have a 0 balance and you choose this semester, then that will come back to you in the form of a refund. If you have a balance, it will be applied to the balance first, and then you will receive whatever residual is left from that. And if you choose the fall, it will be applied to your fall term. So it's really a personal choice, but we wanted to give that option to students who may need it more immediately. And I believe we have another question. Rob, it looks like there's a question for you about the SU options. So Rob, I'll turn it over to you.
All right, great, thank you. Yeah, the SU option does not impact classes that require a minimum grade because we are collecting that actual letter grade. So we will look at the actual letter grade to determine if you have met the minimum grade requirement. Usually that's a C or better. So we will collect that letter grade. If you get a C or better, then you will, the course or the requirement, excuse me, will be considered satisfied, and an S will show on the transcript. If you were to get a D for that course, an S would show on the transcript, but you would have to repeat that course.
Thank you, Rob. And at this time, I don't see any other questions posted in our chat. Please know at any time you can reach out to us in our direct emails, our phones. Even though we're not physically working on campus, we're checking our voicemail, we're responding to emails, and you can use the careteam@ju.edu email address as well. We are we're looking forward to stay connecting with everyone, and we miss you all. So take care and stay in touch. Thank you.